G'day folks, Dan King here from DK8EV. Today we're going to be talking about all the camping gear that I take out on my multi-day trips. Stick around and check it out. Alrighty, so the type of riding that I do is the dual sport adventure long distance multi-day riding. I've got a 701 Husqvarna and I want to keep my gear as light as possible because weight is your enemy when it comes to off-road. I use the same philosophy as hikers and I recommend you do the same if you want to get your weight down low. And what I mean by that is your actual individual items getting the pack weight is low, just because I need to keep that weight down as low as I can so I can go into the harder trails. So this video is going to be really helpful for people who are getting into adventure bike riding and looking for new gear, but also people who are seasoned veterans as well. I love to go and watch other people's gear layout because that's where I pick up little bits of, you know, things that I'm like, oh, I'm going to do that to my pack. So recently I've done a bit of a bag change. I used to run and I still do run the Moto 80 litre rackless system. I've been testing this giant loop 25 litre, 50 litres in total, 25 each side. And these are the giant loop Moto Trek panniers. Now I've been running these panniers for a long time. I used to have them on my F800 GS and they were really good. And I really liked how it kept the weight down low. So I'm doing a bit of testing at the moment, but I obviously use both setups and I probably will go back to the Moto 80 over the summer period just because I'm going to be able to lose a bit more weight because I've got a rack system, steel rack system there by Mototech that's holding this all together. Alrighty, kicking it off, we'll start with my tent. And it doesn't look like much now, but as you can see, it packs down really small and it is really light. So this tent is the Big Angus Copper Spur 2. This is a 3 seasons tent and its pack weight is 1.4 kilograms. So it is one of the lightest tents you can get. And the reason why I like a tent, and particularly this tent, is because I just like a little bit more space when I'm camping inside the tent, and that just gives me somewhere to move around, store some gear, but also too, when the weather turns pear-shaped and it's bucketing down rain, this tent gives you a little bit more shelter than opposed to saying being in a bivvy or in a hammock. So this double vestibule entry either side of this tent is really handy, and that's why I pick these type of tents, because you can get the access from the side, not from the front or the rear. You can store gear under these vestibules, not much, but at least you've got two of them, so if you need to get some stuff out of the weather. The reason why they can get it so light is because they make it from this really lightweight material. Now, one of the things I need to mention about it is this material can rip really easily. So in particular the floor, so you need to put a ground sheet, which you can buy separately underneath this tent. I'm not too bad on it, but if you're pretty heavy on gear, probably not something like this. I know Nemo make an ultralight tent as well. They make some really good stuff. When it comes to tents, there's thousands on the market. Go work out what you want from weight-wise, pack down space, and the seasons as well, and that'll help determine what you want to get. So there's another Big Angus tent that I'd recommend that has a more high abrasion material on it, so it doesn't rip as easy. So I camp all year and I obviously run 2 tents. This is my summer tent. My winter tent is my Hildeberg Yanu. That weighs, in comparison to this, that's almost 3 kilos. This is only 1.4, so it's a massive saving. Packs down really small. I've got a Cedar Summit compression bag on this. This is a waterproof compression bag, so if the tent does get wet, I can pack it into my bags and it's not going to wet the rest of my gear.
So the sleeping bag that I've selected is the Cedar Summit Spark SP1 Ultralight. Now this sleeping bag packs down really small, one of the smallest items in my pack. It weighs 385 grams. Now it is a warm weather sleeping bag only, so anything colder than that 9 degrees and I'm getting into my winter sleeping bag, which is rated to around that sort of -10. One thing I like to add to the sleeping bag is obviously that thermal liner. Now this will add a little bit of extra temperature to it on those colder nights, but anything sort of below 9 degrees with the thermal liner, it's just too cold. Alrighty, sleeping mats. This is the Nemo Tensor insulated sleeping mat. This sucker only weighs 410 grams, so it's super light and it packs down really, really small. The technology in mats has come a long way in the last couple of years. They're getting smaller and lighter. I recently grabbed this one because it's a little bit smaller than the Thermarest that I've been using for years. That mat has been absolutely faultless and I'm taking it everywhere. But this one just packs down that little bit smaller and weighs less. This is just a regular, so I don't need the big one because I'm using it predominantly over the summer period. I like to get my mats insulated, and what that does, it stops the cold from penetrating through the bottom of the sleeping mat. There's nothing worse than feeling cold at night. So depending on where you are riding, if you're riding in a really warm climate, there's no point getting insulated, but here in Victoria and heading up into the mountains, it can get really, really cold even over the summer period. So insulated all the way for us down here in Vic.
Now, if it is going to get cold, I do like to carry a thermal liner, and one of the other benefits to a thermal liner as well, it helps keep your sleeping bag clean. So this one here is the Extreme Reactor. I brought this one along just because it's going to get a little bit cool tonight when I'm out camping. So this one here is good. It adds a little bit more temperature. Now, Cedar Summit claim that this can give you 14 degrees more out of your sleeping bag. No, it helps, but I don't know if it goes 14 from what I've used it for. So this is only 110 grams, but if you go the less warmth one, the next one down, you save on a little bit more pack weight as well. It packs down a bit smaller and doesn't weigh as much. But this is easy to pack in. It slides into your bags and it can fill that spot. So I recommend you carry one of these. Alrighty, so pillow is one of those things, your sleeping mat and your pillow and your sleeping bag, I find you have to have those really, really good, and you've got to be comfortable because there's no point coming all this way and not being able to get a night's sleep. So if these type of mats and things aren't suited to you, do your research and find and go and test some equipment that's going to be more beneficial to you. So this pillow, once again, it's a large Cedar Summit. I've got a lot of Cedar Summit stuff because it's reasonably well priced, and it's really hardy gear. So this is the Cedar Summit, just a basic aero pillow. It only weighs 79 grams, so it's really, really light, packs in really, really small. This is the larger version. I find these comfortable. I know there's thousands of pillows out on the market. Once again, like if you've got one that works for you, please by all means use it. But if you're just looking for sort of cheaper end of the spectrum, a couple of the other guys that I ride with have massive pillows that they take out, but you know what? They're comfortable and they sleep at night. So if it works, use it. Really easy to blow up. Doesn't take much at all. You don't even need the pump for this one, and that's it. Gone. Dirty pillow. Nice. I like the system on this too. You can sort of pop this first plug out and you can actually push the little button inside here to let air out. So I like to pump it up really, really heavy at night, get myself comfortable, and then just sort of flick my hand around behind my head and pump a little bit of air out, and then I can find that ultimate comfort. Now, most importantly, this thing holds its air overnight, so when you wake up in the morning, you know it's not going to be deflated. So it's good gear, it's hardy, and I recommend it. Cooking equipment. Now, I use different types of cooking equipment depending on what type of cooking I want to do. And if I'm cooking for mates, I'll take bigger pots. If I'm cooking for myself and I want a steak, I'll just take a pan. If I'm using a fire, I'll just take a grill. But one of the basic things that I always take, and this can be used across the board for cooking some pretty basic stuff. And the pots that I've gone are from Companion, and these are the Pro Nano Solo Cook Set, and they are so cheap. 1.5 pot and a little 600 ml frying pan. Comes with a silicone lid and it comes with this mesh bag. And the reason why I like these is because they're made from ionized aluminium, and that way I can cook in the fire. So I'll cook a lot with this in the fire as well, and they're really, really hardy. And I've been using these for a long time, and they only weigh 300 grams complete. And as I say, depends on the cooking. If you're just boiling water and using dehydrated meals, for instance, this is all you're gonna need. If you wanna start cooking steaks, it's gonna be really tricky to cook a steak on this. Can be done, you can just dice it up and throw it through and cook it like a stir fry, I guess. So I'm a bit versatile when it comes to my cooking. I like to cook different things, particularly when I'm out on the track. And when it comes to the pots, they're sort of limited to what you cook. So I like to carry a frying pan, and I've used the Pathfinder 20cm folding skillet and lid. Now this thing is fantastic. It only weighs 420 grams and it's made of stainless steel, and you can cook in the fire with it. It's super easy to clean. You literally throw it in the fire, turn it upside down and just let it burn out all the contents, and then just wipe it out with some water and on a rag, and you're good to go. It can be a little bit bulky to pack in, but I've managed to sit it in the top of my 20-litre bag. It's just, if you want something more versatile to cook with, I recommend the Pathfinder. Light, easy to use. Squeaky boots. So sometimes I don't always cook in the fire, particularly over the winter time. So I like to use a stove, and the stove I've picked is a pretty basic one, and it's from MSR. And this is the MSR Pocket Rocket 2, and the name says it all. It is a pocket rocket. So I can boil a litre of water in about 3 minutes, which is really, really quick. It's compact and light and actually stores really well into my pots. It only weighs 73 grams, so it's super, super light. Pair that up with a gas butane bottle, one of the small butane bottles. They last enough for me. If you want to get bigger ones, obviously there's bigger sizes. Now, just to put this in comparison to price-wise, this is around 94 bucks. It is pretty expensive. There is a lot of these out on the market that you can get really, really cheap. You don't necessarily have to get this one. Putting in comparison with the $24 pots, you look at, like, say, a Jetboil, for instance, which is around, I think, 230 bucks. With your pots, your burner, you know, that's pretty expensive. So you can do it a lot cheaper, and it does exactly the same thing. Don't use this as much as I do now because I love that pan, is the Alton Goods Ultralight Titanium Grill. Now there is a flood of these on the market. I like Alton. These are an Australian brand, and it's not that expensive. It's made from titanium. This only weighs 240 grams, and it is really, really good to use. Now, obviously, only can be really used on an open fire, so you have to have your fire skills on point. Obviously, you just put your logs either side of it and then just build your coal bed underneath. Great for cooking snags, awesome for cooking steaks on the open fire, and it's easy to pack in your bag. One of the other things I like is this case. It's got a grease-proof protective carry bag. Nothing worse than having that 1.5 kilo T-bone steak juice still sitting on your grill and going through your bag. Holds in this and doesn't go through the rest of your bag. So really, really good, light, cheap. I think it's only about 63 bucks for this. Another good option. Alrighty, utensils. This is just what I use, and it's nothing special. It's literally just some Cedar Summit plastic knife and fork and spoon. This set you can get, and it's really easy to replace. I think they're only about 7 bucks, so it's really, really cheap. Food grade plastic. And it's also too, it's a little bit heat rated, so if you're going to use it to stir in your pots, it's not going to melt them. I've been running these for a while now, and they're fine. The only thing with the knife, obviously, if you're going to go through that T-bone steak, you need to pack a sharper knife. So I just use a Swiss Army knife style knife for cutting through steaks, and the fork and the spoon are all good. It's all handy on a carabiner. Now, what I also have is the spatula, and I've just drilled a hole in this and just added it to my setup, and that just helps me, particularly if I'm cooking on a pan. That spatula is really good to mix with, and it doesn't melt as much as what the spoon does. If you're worried about melting forks and stuff, there is titanium options of that. What I've found with the titanium stuff, it can scratch the pots, then that's what you're going to eat later, and you can go through pots really quickly with the titanium stuff. But if you want something that's going to last for a lifetime, the titanium cutlery is definitely the way to go. I haven't found this to be any issue to replace, and if it does, it's only 7 bucks. When they wear out, I'll replace them. Yeah, when it comes to camp bowls, I go with the Cedar Summit XL bowl. I don't normally bring both of these with me. I usually just take one or eat out of the pan. But when I do, I like to use these bowls, and same as the mug, same material again, easy stores, packs down nice and flat. They shove in really well into your bags. Also too, they've got a good back on them, so you can use it as a chopping board for eating. So this is a little kit that I made myself, and this is my fire lighting kit. Particularly if you're using a fire a lot and you get to camp and you want to get that fire raging. For us, we like to cook on our fire, so we need to get it fired up pretty quickly. So what I've got in there, I've got some of my homemade fire lighters, which is pretty much a cotton wool wrapped in Vaseline, dipped in candle wax. They burn for about 10 minutes and they're really, really good. So I have my flint lighter in here as well. Also have dry tinder. So if I rock up to camp and it's been pumping down rain and everything's wet and I just need to get that fire going, that's where this fire bag comes really handy. You can make these yourself. This is just a tiny little dry sack that I picked up from an outdoor shop, filled it with dry tinder, whatever you can find, and fire lighters, flint lighter, and you're always good to go. Packs in nice and small, sits in your bag, and it's a very, very handy bit of kit. Nice little crossing here. Water storage. Because I'm traveling out into really remote places, I like to travel with a bit of water. So this is a 4-litre MSR Mountain Safety Rescue, pretty much water bladder. I have a couple of different versions of these. I have a 6-litre and a 10-litre, just depending on how far I'm going and how much water I need to carry. I like to carry water. It's one of those commodities that if you run out of it and you need it, it's going to bite you in the bum. So therefore I like to carry a little bit extra. Packed up against my back here, and it's sort of out of the way and it's not going to get damaged. It's not in the way of my riding. You can slot your water down low. Obviously it's one of the heaviest things, so if you want to pack that in down low in your pack, this probably is going to take up a bit of space, and if you do fall over on the side of your bike and pierce that, then say goodnight to all the rest of your gear in your bag. You're going to have 4 litres of water in there. So I like to have it somewhere a little bit higher up. Ways to break down water, pretty easy. Get yourself 2-litre bottles of water, slot them in either side, and that way you've got enough. But I like to carry that 4 litres with me, just in case I break down in the woods and I ain't got no water and I need to stay there for a couple of days. So it's good to carry a bit of extra water. Now I've tested a ton of head torches, and I've been really struggling to find one I like until now. And this is the Phoenix HM65RT, and it's actually a cross-country running headlamp. And the reason why I like it is just because it's got this single strap, and the other reason why I like it is because it is really bright. It's 1500 lumens. It's got an exceptional battery life, and it's got 2 different beams on it. So obviously got a short beam for when I'm just kicking around in camp at night, but also too if I want to go spotlighting or point something out. It's got a max beam of 170 meters, which is plenty enough for what you need it for. It has a run time on 10 lumens for about 300 hours. Weighs only 91 grams, and most importantly, it's got that USB-C charge port, and it's waterproof. I don't have to charge this when I go on multi-day trips because the battery lasts that long. The other reason I really like it is because it's got the single strap. I don't like the strap over the top. I know it's going to stay on my head, and it's actually got this really handy tighten buckle at the back, which you can tighten up and loosen really easy. Doesn't move anywhere, and really enjoy it. So I highly recommend this head torch. It's only 180 bucks. That's not too bad, and I can justify the 180 bucks going, you know what, I'm going to have this probably for a good 6 years. They do sell replaceable rechargeable batteries, so if that battery starts to lose its life, I just go buy another battery and I'm good to go. This thing's going to last a while. So yeah, really happy with this head torch, and recommend it if you're in the market. So other lighting I carry, and this is just something I need to light up camp. It's the BioLite Sunlight 100 solar light. Nothing super powerful, but it's got a rechargeable solar panel on the back. So I just sit this on the top of my bag and it charges itself, and I've yet to run this thing out. It's really tough and durable. Solar charge takes about 7 hours to charge it up, but you can charge it quickly for about 2 hours just on the USB port. It has a run time of 50 hours. So I left this running one night when I was out camping, and it was still going in the morning when I woke up the next day. So really good. Not super bright, it's only 100 lumens, but tough, waterproof. If you just need some basic ambient lighting, recommend this. All right, creature comfort time, chairs. It's one of the things I struggle. If I didn't have my camping chair, I don't know what I would do. I still remember my first real camping trip and one of my mates had these chairs and I was just sitting on the ground. And I was like, I have to have one. This one that I've got here is the Hillinox. This is the Chair 2. Now this is the bigger version. I do run a smaller version, which is the Chair 1, which is a little bit smaller. If I was going to save pack weight and I needed to, these are one of the things that I'd probably pull, but it'd have to be a pretty gnarly trip for me to get rid of my chair. So this particular one, the Chair 2, is 46 centimeters long, so it's not too bad, and it weighs 1.8 kilos. So it is starting to get on the more heavier side of gear. But this one, the Chair 2, has a much higher backrest, so it's really, really comfortable. So the smaller version, that's only 35 centimeters long, and it's 960 grams. So we lose a bit of weight there with the chair, but this one is so comfortable. One of the things I will say about these Chair 1 and Chair 2, they do sit quite low to the ground. So if you've got sort of bad knees and you have struggle getting up, you can get the Sunset chair, which obviously is going to be a little bit more weight. But if you want more comfortable sitting at a much higher distance, recommend the Sunset chair. One of the things I recommend too when you buy the Hillinox is to get yourself some balls for your legs. And what I mean by that, these are little balls that slot onto the bottom of the feet of the chair, and what that prevents you from doing is sinking in the mud, especially if it's wet. Makes it really stable on uneven ground. Use it in the desert, in the sand, use it in the snow, it's not too bad. Used it on really muddy surfaces and it's done the job. So yeah, recommend getting the balls. These are one of the things if you're wanting to save some weight and you're not too fussed, these you can pull out and ditch. They don't weigh too much, they're only a couple of grams, but once again, those creature comforts sometimes start to creep in and got to be comfortable. Alrighty folks, thanks for sticking with me and checking out all my gear that I take out on the trail. This is my personal gear. I've come to my own personal opinion of this. It may not be your opinion as well, but if you want to know more about it, leave me a comment below and I'm happy to answer any questions. Until then, thanks for tuning into this video and I'll see you out on the trail. You.